Paul, seeing as you're joining us on Zoom today, can we assume that you may well have tested positive and might well not be in the dugout this weekend?
Yeah, that's right. It was after the Wolves game, really. Even though we were off, I've been testing daily anyway, just for this purpose. Because if I'd not been testing like on the Sunday and then on Monday again, that's 2 days extra you can miss when you don't really need to. So, yeah, listen, I wish it hadn't been a positive test, but I'm glad I've been testing now daily. Otherwise, I'd have only found out about it on Tuesday.
How are you feeling?
Fine, just like a cold. You wouldn't even know. You wouldn't think anything about it if obviously we weren't in this sort of situation now with coronavirus and testing. And probably maybe if I were in another profession, I wouldn't have been testing, so I probably wouldn't have known.
Well, hopefully it stays that way and you don't feel any worse. In terms of the playing squad, what are the numbers looking like from an injury and an illness perspective ahead of Derby?
Yeah, so we've got a couple more back in who've been missing. John Egan's back in. He managed to train Tuesday, and then Ender hopefully back with the squad today. I've not spoke to anyone after training. There's a few still out on the pitch as we're doing this. So Ender hopefully has got through it. Ollie McBurney hopefully got through training today. Obviously he's one who's suffered a little bit when he had COVID. He lost a lot of weight, came back and was, struggling fitness wise. It did affect him and obviously then picked up another illness as well off the back of it all. So hopefully he's got through as well today and we can gradually build him up and get him where he needs to be. So those three are back in. And I think that's the only returns really.
So in terms of the others, Fleck and Robinson, Gibbs, White, Davis, what are the situations with them right now? How long could they be out for?
Yeah, Robbo should have been back in training as well today, sorry. Flecky, George Baldock, looking at another week if things go well. So yeah, we'll have to just wait and see how they go. Robin similar. So hopefully at the end of next week we might have a few more back. Obviously Morgan we know will be a couple of weeks. He's been back out on the grass this week down at Wolves. So hopefully he keeps progressing well and then we see him before the end of the month.
I think Ben Davis was the other one.
Ben, yeah. So Ben's trained with the group today, part of the session. Again, I have not been in touch with them after training, so I can't say how well they've done or how they've come through it. But yeah, the plan was for him today to do most of the session with the players. So that's good to get him back in. He's been training on his own for a week or so, doing a bit of fitness work. So it's a step up for him again today.
And you mentioned Robin Olsen as part of that from a fitness perspective. He's obviously been linked with Villa. Is there a potential that he could go back to Roma and then go out somewhere else?
There is potential on that, but nothing as yet. It's one of the situations that we're monitoring, but as it stands now, and again, I know because I've been on regarding things like that this morning, as it stands now, nothing's happening.
I mean, you've allowed Michael Verrips to go back to the Eredivisie with Fortuna Sittard. Is that a good deal for all concerned?
Yeah, Michael's a player I spoke to not long after I'd come in and started working with the first team again. He wants to play first team football. He'd had a loan, enjoyed the loan, enjoyed the first team exposure again, and was keen to go and do it. And as it stands at the minute, with obviously Wes coming in doing well, Robin returning, Easty on the bench at the minute, it just made sense for Robin to go and play, for us to get that money back in the budget and get a bit of money back as well on a deal that obviously was done on him a couple of years ago.
So from a goalkeeping perspective, do you still very much see it as Wes and Robin fighting for that number one spot with Jake as backup? Yeah,
that's as it stands. And obviously, if, as you said about Robin, I know there's been speculation, but the only way he can go, because the loan's in our hands, the only way he can go is if we do have a replacement.
And in terms of incomings, then, is there an update on John Suter? I know that there's been plenty of discussion that he's got options at Blackburn and Rangers as well as yourselves.
Yeah, no update, nothing to report on that. I think I said last time he'll be a player in demand because of his situation, the way he's performed this year. He's done very well. the fact he's coming to the last year of his contract and the age he's at will mean that, yeah, he'll be in demand. And whether, I think Hearts will struggle to keep hold of him, the position he's put himself in. So whether he moves now or in June is probably the thing that him and his people are working on.
There's reports that he has been speaking to the club already. I mean, it would be a bit of a coup, really, if he could beat Rangers and Blackburn to his signature.
Yeah, it would. Let's say there's nothing to report on it. There's lots of things going off in January. I forgot how much of a pain in the backside it is, dealing with things that a lot of things you don't want to deal with and a lot of things that you want to do to try and improve. But yeah, there's loads of things going off. There's nothing more I can say on John. So yeah, we are where we are, and we'll just have to, if there were anything to report, I'd tell you.
Any other potential incomings ahead of the weekend then, Paul, or anything likely to happen?
No, there won't be, no.
In terms of club news this week, I mean, some promotions within the youth setup and the academy with Derek Geary replacing Jack Lester and Michael Collins replacing yourself, Eddie Boothwood coming in. Does that show what the club is trying to do in terms of its structure and how it wants to work from within?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, I saw firsthand how it worked, the academy, when I came in. Obviously I spoke to Chris about it first, and then Jack, and came in and really enjoyed working with that group of staff down in the academy. And I feel like we made some positive strides, both in terms of the expectations put on players, but also the expectations put on the staff. And for me, it's only going to become more important. So I think the message is clear. Look, just because myself moved up, and I know I've got no problem playing young players, but I say all the time they have to be good enough. And so now the academy staff have to step up, because if I'm looking around and saying I'm willing to put players in, but we're not producing players that are good enough, we know where to look. So these are very good appointments. I know how they work. They know the expectations of what type of play we want in a Sheffield United first team. And then we'll work well and work hard together to make sure we get there. But as I say, it's not, by no means is it just a luxury thing. Just because they're there, they're going to move up. They know the expectations on them, and they wouldn't have been asked if myself, Jack, Steve, and the rest of the football club didn't think that they were up to the task. So I see it as a really positive move, definitely, and one that can sort of continue a lot of good work that's gone off.
How vital is that pathway from the academy through to the first team, and those links and those close relationships to the future of the club?
Yeah, for me, it's paramount. If a club gets that right, it can add to, I know we use that word a lot, don't want to be sustainable. It can definitely add to that, but it can also add to performance as well, both in developing staff that can come in and work throughout the club and add to the value of the club, and also developing players. So it is vital. The fact that there is a close link there makes it easier in terms of transitioning players up and down. There's no grey areas. They know what to expect. And also with the younger players, so there's a familiarity there with the younger players then, and I see it as a real strength when sometimes I'm walking out the building 6, 7 o'clock in an evening, and the young boys are coming in with their parents. And I think that's the big strength of Sheffield United Academy. And we want to continue that. We want to make sure that it's a good place for young players to be. And then hopefully they're the ones in 5, 10 years' time who can still be here, and some other manager is getting the benefit.
How pleased are you that Eddie Boothwood has decided to get involved as well? Clearly brings different experiences from club and international level.
Yeah, and I think that's important, different. So we want the continuity. We want to build and continue a lot of good work that's been going, but it needs to be challenged. We need different ideas all the time. We need people sort of stress testing what we're doing, if you like, and trying to come up with ways to improve that. And the experience Adie's got. I first met Adie when I was at Norwich, and he was under 18s coach down at Norwich. So he's someone I've known for a long time. So he's done that role before. He's gone and managed teams and got promotions to the Premier League. He's managed throughout all the other divisions. He's managed at international level at different age groups. So his experience is vast, and it'll be something that we'll all look to use in the right way. So it won't just be his experience of working with players and delivering coaching sessions for players. It'll be someone for the staff to lean on as well. And with the changes in and around the academy at this moment in time, there'll be lots of people who will be able to help and will be able to pick his brains.
We spoke after the Wolves game about the importance of getting a game after so many weeks without it. Are you confident that the result and a few of the errors on that day won't affect, your return to league action?
Yeah. It's cup games never really do the one-off. Like they're a different feel to them. The frustrating thing for me has been I haven't been able to follow any of that game up other than creating video, chatting to the staff, because there are lots of things in there that I would have followed up on, and we've had to be really selective in what we do drip feed then into the players, because it's a totally different game against a team who play a totally different system in a totally different way. So we've tried to focus more on Derby and then elements of the Wolves performance that will be important going into Derby, rather than really reflecting on the Wolves game.
I was going to ask about the kind of battle for the left wing back spot at the moment as well. You said Ender Stevens is back in training. Reece Norrington-Davies played there last weekend. You've got Ben Osborne as well. How do you see that right now? Because obviously Reece came in last weekend and seemingly did a good job against Premier League opponents.
Yeah, he did do a good job. I know Ben, obviously I used Ben in that position last year, so I know Ben can play there. Ender's returning to a good vein of form these last few weeks and done really well. We've got Maxlow out performing well at Forest. And then, as you said, Reece got his opportunity, stepped in and did well. And then we had to throw a different position on him at left centre-back during the game as well, where I thought he performed equally as well. So, yeah, at the minute, that's an area where we're strong. And we've got not only competition, but cover as well, should anything happen.
Will Jack and Stuart lead the team this weekend against Derby, Paul?
Yeah, I'll not be able to be there. I've obviously been checking with the doctor, and you've got to do your 7 days regardless if I start getting negative test results. So yeah, I'll not be there. We've been on with the analysts, seeing what sort of like link up I can get to be involved real time, watching the game and making notes from the side. So I'm just treating it as one of those games where you'd be sat in the stand watching it. And listen, this week's been difficult and will be difficult for me. It's not nice. And I know the other managers who face this will have gone through the same things. But you know what? The players get on with it as normal. The staff get on with it as normal. They're still at work. They're not even noticing I'm not there. It's only me that's really suffering and feels different from it. So in terms of how we prepare the team, we'll still have the same meetings, but they'll be on Zoom. I'll need help. I'll have a conversation with Macca and Jack today about the players and how they've performed and responded in training this week. Because when you are trying to select a team, although you might have things in your head, the one thing I can't get here is a feel for how the players are, and a feel for how the environment is in the atmosphere, who's buzzing, who's bubbling, who's in a real good place. So that's where Macca and Jack are going to be really important this week.
So are you hoping to have some involvement kind of in the decision-making during the game, or is that going to be left to Jack and to Stuart to primarily lead on? Yeah,
they'll primarily lead. There'll be bits that the problem is, well, I've been in a position where I could easily come in and go over the top of things and change. But as I say, I've not been on the grass with the players. So all I've sort of done with the analysts is sort of lead on what information's key, Derby's strengths, weaknesses, what we need to touch on in training, particularly today, tomorrow, and then in the build-up on Saturday. But Macca and Jack are delivering that. So it's same as the session today. We know the content. I know what's being delivered on the grass. But it's pointless me saying it needs to be delivered that way, because Macca's got the experience to go and deliver a message any way he wants. And then obviously how that's delivered will reflect the information and key points on Saturday afternoon as well. So he's very much got to be in control on the side of the pitch.
Some thoughts on
A lot
Derby.
a lot of things I may say may contradict, and I never want to do that.
Yeah, appreciated. Your thoughts on Derby? I mean, their predicament and their efforts to get themselves into a position where they could survive. It's been a remarkable effort over the last few weeks, really.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, the predicament, listen, it's through no fault of the players and the coaching team in there, and it looks like they've sort of used it to rally, used it as a something to galvanise the squad. And you know what? Yeah, they might have played a few more games than us, but they've been on the same points as us. So that's how well they've been performing and playing. They've rose to the challenge, and they've been giving teams a hard time. So the difficulty of task is not reflected by them being bottom of the league. You just have to look at the amount of wins they've had and the draws they've had, and they've been difficult to beat. So yeah, they would be up next to us on points, albeit playing a few more games. They've developed a way of playing now which is suiting them, and they've been a bit more settled. So it's going to be, in terms of what to expect, we know it's going to be a tough game. We know they're going to set up. We know the problems, but we also know that we have to be at our best to cause them problems. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a tough game, but one that we can go there full of confidence. But likewise, the form they're in and the fact that they're at home, they'll be full of confidence as well.
I mean, they could actually move off the bottom this weekend. I mean, you'd imagine that will be a significant motivator from their perspective.
Yeah, it will be. And as I said, they'll be using all these little markers, all these little things. So the first one, chalk off those negative points that were on, big moments once they've done that. If they, and again, they're playing us now at a time where they can make that next big milestone, which would be, as you say, getting off the bottom. So that's all the motivation they need. They're up against it. They've literally from game one that they've had nothing to lose. And as I say, they've done a fantastic job using that to build a mentality to make them competitive. And so we're expecting nothing different.
The club's beaten Derby twice already this season at home. Does that offer any insights, or clearly it was a different boss then from Sheffield United's perspective?
We could take confidence from that, definitely. Sheffield, Derby know they're going to be in a tough game. I know the games were at Sheffield before, let's say, but I know they're going to be in for a tough game themselves. So they'll be preparing as best they can. But those games are gone. As I say, they've developed, their style of football's developed as the season's gone on, and they're in a good place at the minute in how they want to play. So they'll just be taking this game in what is at the back end of a good run for them in terms of the league form. So no, I don't think they'll be reading too much into those last two games against us, and neither will we. We won't take anything for granted. We know it's going to be a tough game playing at their place and in the form that they're in as well.
And clearly, Paul, from your perspective, you'll just be hoping that you can carry on where you left off at Fulham. It seems like a lifetime ago where that happened, yeah. But the league form up to that point under yourself was in a really good direction.
Yeah, listen, it's unbelievable, really. And this week sort of capped it off. I just want it over with. I want to be back in the building when the games are going. I mean, it'll be one league game in over 6 weeks, and that's incredible. Like in the middle of a season, and we know, well, as I said, we know it's not ideal. So we just want to get playing again, get the league going, and just forget all about the things we've had to go through in terms of the over Christmas period and last week, and then me personally this week, and just get going and start picking up points again. So yeah, once we do get going, once this Saturday hits, then it's going to be relentless and non-stop till the end of the season.